How's it going, guys? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting and welcome back to Mamiya, where just when you thought it couldn't get much darker, whoo boy! Yeah, Mayuri's an interesting one. She's going to be really interesting to follow, but now we're kind of seeing what Mamiya is. And so my running theory, well, actually, I'll talk about my theory in just a second. Just want to let you know, this is coming out on a Friday. So next Monday, we are starting what's called Democracy Week. It's something that's going to be happening on the community page of the channel. Just to make sure you know, I'm curating a list of games and titles that I'd like to play in the next year. Either things I think are going to be fun or have been selected by the patrons specifically. And then everyone on the channel gets an opportunity to cast any votes for any titles that they specifically think are necessary, or not necessary, that are interesting. And we're going to be doing elimination rounds. So every day there's going to be like a 24-hour period where we do a poll, and then we're going to eliminate the least voted for option and kind of roll it into the next day. By the end of the week, we should have a cultivated list of exactly the types of games you should expect to see this year. Now, this is going to be very interesting because I've never done anything like this before, but with the higher level of content that I'm being able to make on the channel now, it's something I wanted to be able to do, and it's going to include other kinds of content that aren't just visual novels. A lot of them are, obviously, because visual novels are my favorite, but there are a few other kinds of games I do want to play on the channel, like you've been seeing on my Tuesdays and Thursdays, so we're going to be changing things up a bit. So, if you're interested in seeing specific types of content, types of visual novels, types of other games, please make sure to pay attention next week for Democracy Week. It'll be very exciting, be a lot of fun. It'll just be these poll links you follow, you put in a vote, and then pass it on, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it'll be really fun, so make sure you don't miss that. So just want to get that shout out there at the beginning. You'll also hear about this all next week as well. But of course, if you don't start like by next Friday, by the next Mamiya episode, it's probably going to be mostly over. So please make sure to remember. Again, if you pay attention to the community tab or the Discord channel, you're not going to miss anything. But just in case, wanted to let you know. Okay, running theory now. We now know Mamiya got involved in these people's lives. And it's interesting because now I'm starting to see parallels between the way that Mamiya is getting interfering and the way that Natsumi had been interfering. So I'm thinking they're the same. In fact, I almost guess that Mamiya is the guy behind the door that told us how to interfere to begin with. And yeah, I don't know if Mamiya is somehow still reaching through intentionally, like into the other lives and other people, or if somehow, like, by interfering, he's created some kind of splinter echo entity. That's something I thought of over the past week. Or 2 weeks technically, because I got sick, so I took some time off. But I'm wondering if like the Mamiya we see interfering with our friends' lives is the same, because there's a very clear difference. So either it's like some kind of splinter entity, or Mamiya got very jaded when he realized that his interference didn't really do anything. Because I think that's what we're gonna be portraying is we're gonna be hearing at least Mayuri's story, if not the other 4 stories about like who Mamiya was in their lives, why they mattered, and then when Mamiya just vanished because they're like, oh, done my job, I've saved my friends, or the people I care about, I can now peace out of here, kind of like Natsumi, in their stories, and then their whole lives, because they became emotionally dependent on the interference of Mamiya, their lives literally fell to pieces. They go crazy, and then perhaps like it ends in a massive tragedy with all of them. And so it's like, even when saving them, because remember that's what the end of each of those stories, when we got the good ending, they like Mamiya always like says to themselves, like, did you really save them? Is this really what they want? Like, I think what we're dealing with is Mamiya is simply what Natsumi is now, like, is what Mamiya was before. So it's really interesting. I wonder how, like, I have no idea how much more of the game we have, really. Like, if we follow the same pattern, then we're going to be seeing the backstory of all 4 of the Mamiya background characters, and then we might figure out what the true ending truly is. But at the same time, I have no earthly idea. So let's just continue on and figure out what happens. So thanks for dealing with the rant. Thanks for dealing with all the announcements. Let's jump back into it. Isn't this a bit unrefined, though? It's popular among younger girls right now. Oh, am I falling behind? I really should study more for your sake, Mayuri. She gathered herself in a heartwarming way. Mother was always kind to me as ever. I dressed like a princess at home and took care to only eat low sugar food, which isn't actually the perfect way, but it's a great way to maintain your health. My clothes had all been picked by Mom. She greatly enjoyed decorating me. She also did my makeup, my hair, and made me wear dresses she was fond of. Having a good look at me was when she was done, seemed to be one of her greatest pleasures in life. Oh, Mayuri, my sweet, sweet Mayuri. I love you so much. Never leave my side, okay? I was used to her hugging me by now. She'd done this for as long as I could remember. Me too. I love you too, Mom. Deep down, though, I found myself really embarrassed. It'd become a daily habit of mine to visit the second science classroom after school. Mamiya would always have me over for tea and snacks. The food he prepared was nothing special, but... Is it okay for a teacher to do this? As long as no one finds out. That sounds sketch! Weird. But I felt like he was giving me special treatment. It made me so happy I could almost burst. We were alone in here. He gave me green tea boiled in a beaker. We discussed generally unremarkable things. However, it was my first time actually talking to someone like this. His carefree, gentle voice, the watch on his inner wrist, the feel of his chalk-stained lab coat. All of it was so new to me. Even the taste of salt around my lips seemed like a wonderful thing if Mamiya was there. Oh, it's gotten quite late. It really has. It's already dark out. I'll see you tomorrow then. Sure, take care. Thanks. Don't mention it. Mayuri, where have you been? It's so late. What? It's only 7. I was just chatting with a friend. Really? Poor girl. Must have been scary to walk around in the dark all by yourself. I wouldn't call it scary, but okay. Huh? Where's Dad? He had to leave on business. He'll be home tomorrow, though. Oh, I'll be looking forward to his souvenirs. Say, Mayuri, why don't we take a bath together? Oh, boy. What? We should enjoy ourselves while your father's away, you know. Look, I even have some bubble bath. I don't want to. It's too embarrassing. But why? We used to bathe together all the time. Now, a trope of, like, siblings doing this is, of course, a thing. Of course, it's mostly, I think, for certain tastes, obviously. But this is really interesting. Yeah, but that was when I was little. Things are different now. Well, all right. I suppose I'll just have to bubble bath alone. There's absolutely no way. I'd go take a bath with her. Good morning, Mayuri, my cute little Mayuri. Please promise me you'll stay as this pretty little rose you are now. So, Mom? Yes? I want to quit being a model. The warm atmosphere between us had frozen over in a split second. Why? Did something bad happen? Not really, no. Then why? Is there something else you'd like to do instead? Like piano, ballet, flower arrangements, perhaps? I want to cut my hair. I've always had it long, you know? I want to try what it would be like to have it cut short for once. Mayuri. I mean, that's what's popular right now. Come on, Mom. No. You can't do that, Mayuri. Hair is the woman's crown and glory. Besides, you know any other girl with hair as beautiful and wavy as yours? Listen, Mayuri. Beauty exists for everyone's sake. It does? You're lovely and beautiful, and that alone is a wonderful thing. So please, Mayuri, don't say things like wanting to cut your hair or quit modeling. Beauty exists for everyone's sake. But did you know, Mom? Did you know that my beauty was the very reason men hurt me? It prevented me from doing what I wanted. The cards I'd picked up at the park were still in the drawer. Okay. I'm sorry for saying all these weird things. Mayuri? Gosh, look at the time. I'm doing a day shift, so I have to go now. Okay, goodbye. Take care. Mom, I actually... Even so, I'd chosen tarot cards over the card-themed card games. That was what Mother wanted, after all, and it made her happy. Huh. Why couldn't the world's people live without God? We were the peak of all animals here, yet we were all subjected to foolish worries. We needed someone above us to show us the way. People were helpless on their own. They were weak and had no choice but to rely on others. So weak. I'm so weak. I was also controlled by my mother, yet I found peace in that. I was such a weak person. Oh, Mayuri. Mamiya. What's wrong? You're making a gloomy face. I don't want to go home. Why? Why? Did something bad happen? I don't want to see my mom. You shouldn't say that. Let me stay over at your place. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yeah, let's just go with that. You're single, right? There's no problem then. Mayuri. Wait, do you actually have a lover? I don't mind that either. We could just forget all about it after it's over. I mean, a chance like this won't come again. What was I saying? I won't mind. What was even coming out of my mouth? I won't mind if it's you. The sound of rain was so annoying. Okay. Pausing here for a sec. This kind of thing happens. Though it's more like a cry for help than actually infatuation. But here's the tricky thing. What if this were you? What if this were me? What if you were approached by somebody who you found very physically attractive, younger than you? Let's even ignore the fact that she's a minor, which is very, very much not a great thing. Though, of course, in Japan, I think the age of consent is older, so maybe in Japanese law, she wouldn't be considered like truly underage. I'm not sure how that really works, if I'm honest. Like, in Japan, at least. In America, this would be very illegal, for one thing. But if we put that aside, say she's old enough for consent. Like, it's one thing when it's consenting adults, but, like, this is the thing that gets me. This is actually why you'll see on my channel, there's nothing wrong. I don't really mind when there's fan service in games, but I'll say this many times, especially in my Discord when we talk about games I play. What I don't like are a lot of, like, pure eroge games. I have no problem with fan service at all. I don't even have a problem with, like, with nudity or H scenes or anything like that. Like, frankly, I can deal with that. I'm an adult. I can handle that kind of stuff. But that's not why I come to these types of games. Gosh, I choose my words, man. Gosh darn it. That's why I don't play visual novels, though. I like the emotional investment. I like the characters. I like the narrative. So I love games that have romance in them. But I don't like it when the sensuality, the eroge, is the only reason for the game. Like, it just kind of throws them in there. That's the stuff that really, it just turns me off of the story, turns me off of the game, really. Frankly, if that's what you're looking for, I don't think visual novels are the best source for that. Frankly, that's just my personal opinion. But when you get the attachment, when you get the story and characters, that's what matters. So I try and relate a lot of this to real life. And the thing is, it's odd, is like, if you're single and they're single, is it okay to go forward with something like this if they consent, but you understand that the motivation might be different from just like an actual like love and emotional connection? Would you say no to that? Or would you just go ahead and go for it? Because it's one of those things that, like, there's the answer that sounds right. There's the answer that sounds realistic. And I think the problem is that unless this actually happens to somebody, I don't know if there's a place for that. Like, I don't know. For me, I don't think I could say yes to this, even if I were head over heels for this girl. Because for me, knowing, especially with how out of the blue it is, and knowing that there's some kind of issue at home going on, it would make me think that I could be bringing harm to a situation, that the motivation might not be about me at all, and that would tarnish it for me in a weird way. It's like, I do think it would actually make it so that I couldn't go through something like this. I don't think Mamiya will either, because I think Mamiya, again, being an interloper, is specifically trying to help her, not trying to, like, manipulate and take advantage of her. But the sad thing is that people do walk into these kinds of situations and might even fall into this type of trap of it feeling romantic, and maybe falling into this type of, like, scenario and getting taken advantage of, being emotionally, physically destroyed, ruining their lives. Sometimes in the name of, like, spur of the moment or hyper unrealistic expectations. And it's got to make you wonder. It's like, what would I do if I were in Mamiya's shoes right now? Especially because I think Mamiya cares about her deeply. Like, it implied that the only person Mamiya ever fell in love with was her. So imagine you being in love with somebody and they literally, like, throw themselves at you like this. But you understand that it's not coming from a place of, like, genuine affection for you. Maybe that's part of it. But you know that there's a lot more to it than that. What do? Let's see what Mamiya does. The side of the window was so cold. Why was Mamiya always leaning against the wall when he talked? And why did it seem like I was being cornered? You're the last person I wanted to hear that from. Huh? But this is all I have. There's no value to me other than my looks. So I have to make use of it, otherwise I'd be completely worthless. Before I could finish that sentence, Mamiya slapped me across the cheek. I mean, I think that's fair. Harsh, but fair. Huh? No way. What? Did you just slap me across the face? Seriously? Huh? My face enchanted everyone. Just passing by people would make them ecstatic. They'd ran to me with a bouquet in their hands. It was a treasure shared by everyone. And yet I don't care. You need to cool your head. Go die in a ditch, you sorry excuse for a teacher. I'll tell everyone you raped me. They'll kick you out of the school for real fast. Do whatever you want. Huh? I hate you! And with that, I stormed out of the room. Huh. Man. How could he? I was behind the stairs on the first floor, crying under the diagonal concrete. The concrete was moist and cold, robbing my legs of more and more warmth. I was cold, sad, and felt like I was alone in this world. I just don't want to go home. I considered spending the night here. I would avoid the security patrols. I'd spend the entire night here in the empty school building. They could panic and run around looking for me, for all I cared. Mamiya and my mom would believe I ran away and regret everything they had said to me. I'll never forgive them. This was supposed to be my way of taking revenge. I didn't think about what would happen afterwards. I was too frustrated and entirely too proud to do that. I'll never, ever forgive them. Really? You won't? Huh? I heard someone from the stairs above. It was a reassuring voice, and just hearing it nearly brought me to tears. Hey, Mayuri. You're there, aren't you? I wanted him to go away. Just told him that I wouldn't forgive him. And yet, hearing his voice made me waver this easily. Mayuri. Come on, if you're telling me, it'll be huge trouble. Huh? A teacher that eats snacks, watches baseball, and slacks off all the time won't go well by them. I was shocked. This man was just so... I might be unable to come to school ever again. So please, Mayuri, let's make up. I don't care what happens to you, and it's not like I've forgiven you or anything. But I would feel bad if you couldn't come to school again. I slipped out from below the stairs and looked up where the voice came from. Mamiya made me a surprisingly warm smile. Mommy. Man, it's so late. Main door must be closed by now. Mamiya. Should we stay the night in the school? Huh? It was winter, meaning the sun had set early. The rain clouds above had drifted off into the far distance. In their place sat a crescent moon, its curve like a wound upon the purple sky. Mamiya and I looked through the window of the heated classroom. He treated me to some dried snacks he'd reserved. Unbelievable. He was treating the school property like his own. Say, Mamiya, have you ever felt like you weren't comfortable in your own home? Not really. Oh, I'm jealous. I was too busy trying not to get kicked out. Teachers are so unfair. They know the students' family backgrounds. But we students don't know anything about our teachers. You always help me out, but what about the reverse? I want to help you too. But you already do. That's a lie. No, it isn't. When Mamiya looked up at the moon, I did the same. One day, I'll go back to the Tritiliocosm. Yeah, so he was a observer, a spectator. What's that? The moon. Is that something third-year chemistry students learn? I don't know. It's probably not in the textbooks. The Tritiliocosm. You won't take me there, will you? Look, I know you'll end up going back there, so no matter how hard I cry and wail. Mayuri. The Tritiliocosm wouldn't suit you. Why? I could decide if it does. Why don't you use that energy to make up with your mother? Oh, shut up. Nothing will change unless you actually do something. Take action. The things will change. Whether they go in a good or bad direction is up to you. Stop lecturing me. I am a teacher, though, in case you forgot. Mamiya smiled and rubbed my head. There was genuine care, as well as a clear sense of rejection in his behavior. I was irritated by my own powerlessness. The cherry blossoms danced in the wind. Those were graduation certificates in their hand would never come back here. And I would never meet this man again. In a desert area behind the school, I abandoned my place in the spotlight to keep it all to myself. The graduating students had messed around with him a lot, as evidenced by his scruffy hair. Hey, Mamiya. Mamiya, bend forward. He did as told, and I brushed his hair with cherry petals, and a cherry petal landed on his head. I almost picked it up, but instead left it as it was. Assuming I'd done enough, he moved his head, which made the petal fall. He called my name with a smile, and I found it so unfair. You can't just do that. Do what? You're being so unfair right now. Huh? What do you mean? Did he really think I wouldn't move my heart to be called by my first name? This man easily stripped away the layers of cold, spiky armor I'd built up. And when it all melted away and exposed my bare, naked self, what then? Mamiya? Mamiya. I could no longer keep my unbridled feelings in check. Struggling to hold on my tears, I looked him straight in the eye. I didn't know why, but I felt that I had to burn his image into my mind. If I didn't, I would certainly come to regret it, or so I thought. That happened in the spring of this year, and it turns out I was right. A few months after that, Mamiya suddenly vanished. I looked into the staff room, searched the entire school, but he was nowhere to be found. Excuse me? Ni'igaki, what's wrong? It's about Mamiya. Do you happen to know where Mr. Mamiya is? Mr. Mamiya? He teaches chemistry. He wears a lab coat and glasses. Do you know him? Can't say I do. Did we ever have someone like that working here? Huh? Ah, Ni'igaki, wait! Why? How? Why doesn't anyone know him? I looked at the list of teachers, students, and other staff, but didn't find Mamiya's name anywhere. I even looked all over town, but found no trace of him whatsoever. I remember the cherry blossoms dancing in the breeze, as the cold northern wind of December ruffled my skirt. Well, satisfied? My story might not be much compared to yours, but still. Toma's right. I actually wish Mamiya were dead. As time went on, I gradually realized that it'd probably be easier to think that he were. I mean, if Mamiya never actually existed. If he were merely someone I hallucinated, it would mean that I never actually had anyone to genuinely understood me. And so, I went to that grave despite not even knowing who had erected it, and went there to pray and to cry, hoping that Mamiya really was buried underneath that soil. Will he really return? Would he come back for me from that trichiliocosm or whatever? If he does ever show himself in front of me again, I'd love to play cards with him. Holy crap. Well, that explains a lot. Still holding the book, I fell silent. I tried my best to remain objective, but I couldn't help becoming invested. I was simply that moved by their stories. How come they see Mamiya as a positive entity? I mean, it's Mamiya's fault that their friends ended up dying. Looking back at it, the various Mamiyas did frequently act supportive of my friends. It was just that the endings of each story were far too cruel. Would these people also end up dying horrible deaths? Or it could be that the stories differ in several ways. It's not going to be easy, but I can't make any judgments unless I see everything through to the end. There was one common point between all of the Mamiyas, though. The trichiliocosm. It was a word I'd heard many times now. What could it be? Would you like to find out? Huh. I was startled by the sudden voice coming from behind me. Why? Oh my gosh, they're there. It's like all four of them, I'm guessing, because the fourth one was always invisible. Why are you all here? They all sounded a chuckle, almost as if they were enjoying my reaction. Shouldn't that be obvious? We are here to lead the children we so dearly love to the trichiliocosm. The trichiliocosm? Good thing you're here then. I have many things to ask you all. Go on. I can't guarantee you will answer, though. What are you trying to achieve? And what is the trichiliocosm? Oh, we don't need to answer that. You should already know. What? You still don't get it. How dull. I mustn't let them be in control. Say, spectator, don't you feel it? The nurse girl's abrupt question came out like a gust of wind. The very act of living is full of contradictions. The boy in the gas mask with the rabbit mask continued to weave more and more words. The more things you gain, the more you want, and the more you fear losing it all. Strange, isn't it? I mean, we all started with nothing. Yes,
Souls never had bodies to begin with.
Their clear voices rendered me speechless.
You understand, don't you? Even our flesh is borrowed.
That's... I looked at this transient body I used as a spectator.
Originally, everything that is in this world was in an ideal kingdom we call the Trichiliocosm. They all gained transient forms and appear in this world as phenomena. And so, we bring them back. We merely take things from this wretched world and return them to the peaceful land they came from.
And that's why you make them die? My fist was trembling with anger.
Is it so strange?
Well, of course! None of this makes any sense! Even if what you say is true, it's still death!
We're telling you, spectator, that death is nothing to be afraid of. In fact, it's a vital part of the process where you let go of your unnecessary flesh and travel to the paradise of the Trichiliocosm.
I don't understand your line of thought. Listen, even if the Trichiliocosm really does exist, they live right here in this world. Maybe they'll be happier in the Trichiliocosm, but dying means the end for them here.
Ha! As always, you think only in terms of flesh and bone.
That voice. A scarfed man appeared from between the children. There you are, Mamiya.
Oh dear, getting you to understand things is exhausting. Don't you agree, us? Seriously, he doesn't even try to comprehend us. He's so dull. You should tell him something too. Let's see. What did I say a moment ago? Dying means the end for them here. You really do only look at this world. That's precisely why you can't think beyond it. If your sight extended all the way to the Trichiliocosm, death becomes nothing more than a rite of passage. Like I've said, death is hardly anything to be afraid of.
Even so, we live in this world. It's the only one we know. This ideal Trichiliocosm you speak of is just non-existent illusion. My shout made them all fall silent. For a moment, I thought they understood me, but then they all glared at me.
Are you serious? Did you seriously just say that? Hey, spectator. Listen well. As a spectator, you can't save the four of them.
That's not true. I actually made them happy. I remembered all my interferences and recalled the endings I had created as a result. Sure, what I do is unclear. Maybe there are better ways, but I created new possibilities in which...
Really? Did you really make them happy? You're not even from that world.
Those words made me realize something I tried my best to ignore.
You half but gave them someone to depend on and then just vanished. Did that really make them happy?
What? That wasn't true. Yes, it was, Natsumi. You're watching what happened to Mamiya. He did the exact same thing. I wanted to deny it, but I had no way of arguing with him.
Right. You've no idea what happens after those endings. And that's why you're such a hopeless dimwit, Natsumi. I'm impressed that someone as immature as you could become a spectator. What you did was disguise yourself and disguise your own selfishness as kindness. You do actually understand, don't you? You know what you really are. You know about the Trichiliocosm too.
What? Arisugawa began walking through that ashen world. Mamiya vanished almost as if to look away from it. Wait, I'm still not... Dang it. No way. That can't be. Hey! Please, tell me something. I knocked on the door, but got no response.
There's no one behind the door.
Huh. I felt a chill down my spine. Turning around, I saw the librarian, giving me her usual smile.
Like I said, the scent of sin can be passed on.
Miss Librarian, what happened to the person behind the door? If he was realized, that means he's no longer a sinner. I should be able to meet with him without issue. If you happen to know where he is.
He vanished.
What?
He vanished. Disappeared. The person within the room is gone. You know what that means, don't you?
But why? The librarian was still smiling.
Why, you wonder? Well, I did tell you not to interfere, did I not?
The temperature suddenly dropped. Her eyes were colder than ever.
It's your fault. It's because you interfered and involved him in that he chose to disappear in your stead.
But that's...
Normally, the disappearance of a criminal wouldn't do much for your sin. You wouldn't have followed after him. However, our Lord was greatly moved by this friendship between sinners. You will not be punished until you finish watching the story you're currently in charge of. Isn't that great, Natsumi?
Well, that's not good.
Do not become negligent, though. Then again, that's all you have now, I suppose.
Yes, of course. I'll continue weaving the story with diligence.
Most excellent. Work hard until our Lord becomes bored of you.
After saying that, the librarian gracefully left. I couldn't move from where I was standing. Huh. He was erased in my stead. That's just... Aww. I was once again unable to protect someone close to me. Man, I gotta say, the music in that section was freaking amazing. Holy cow. But a lot's freaking happened! I think I was right, though. I think I pretty much nailed everything that's going on the head. So what's gonna happen now? I collapsed where I stood. I felt devastated. Hated how weak I thoughtless I'd been. How inexperienced I truly was. I bit my lip and tried to hold back the sobs. However, the more I tried, the more tears flowed through my eyes. Why? Why? I shouldn't have talked to him. If I hadn't done that, I might have been able to touch the stories that he loved. The librarian was right. I shouldn't have intervened. Even in the stories that I thought ended well, the sudden disappearance of Natsumi would make them all search for me. That wasn't the happy ending I had wanted to give them. But what option did I have left? What could I possibly do now? I no longer had anyone who would lend an ear to my woes. I was now completely alone. I have to keep reading. I have to keep reading the story. I cried and my consciousness grew vague. I picked up the book like I always did and tried to sink into it. However, my hand simply refused to open the cover. I needed to spectate, but my mind was overwhelmed. I saw their smiles from Bahak when I was still alive. I saw the reflection of their librarian's lenses. I saw the corpses created by Mamiya. I saw his crescent smile with the storm. I heard the gentle voice I'd once heard of my senior behind the door. I could understand this. I knew I couldn't hesitate. I had to hurry and save my friends as quickly as possible. I had to spend every second thinking of a way to make them happy. However, I couldn't bring myself to open the black cover, and I didn't have the willpower to save anyone anymore. How long had I been walking? Since then, I'd merely been wandering around without a clear goal. I didn't raise my face, nor did I look around. I might have passed by the librarian. She might have lost all faith in me. I'm a powerless spectator who can't even do his job right. My own words made me feel even worse. I couldn't save my friends. I had many things to ask my senior. I wanted to know the true meaning behind Mamiya's parting words. I wanted to know how stories continued to unfold after the end credits. And finally, I wanted to know about that story he mentioned, the one that meant a lot to him. I could no longer get answers to any of these questions. What if Mamiya said was true? I think Mamiya might have been behind the door. I really can't save anyone. You half gave them someone to depend on, then just vanished. Did that really make them happy? I act as if I was doing it for their sake, but it was just fueled by my own selfish egoism. Egoism. Perhaps it was from the very start. Even if I felt like I helped them, the very act of trying to save my friends who were fated to die was just for my own self-satisfaction. I couldn't do the job I was given, and I was left like this only because I was a special case. I had no idea it would lead to something else, somebody else getting sacrificed. Despite having already cried a ton, my vision grew hazy again, forcing me to close my eyes tight. I bit my lip and opened my eyes again. I stood before the door where my senior was being kept. Did I come here subconsciously? God, I'm being stupid. There's no one here anymore. Feeling disheartened, I naturally cast my gaze downward, only to realize that something wasn't quite right. The door's open. I talked to the person behind it many times, however, the door had always remained shut. Yet now it was open enough to let some wind pass through. It made perfect sense. After all, there was no one to keep it locked inside anymore. There was absolutely no one here. I knew that, and yet I placed my hands on the doorknob and slowly pulled it. Cold, moist, plain walls. There was a room so small and dark it made the faintly lit hallway look bright by comparison. It was definitely a prison, and the light seeping in through the door was dispersing some of the darkness. Within that light, there was no one. Was I expecting? What was I expecting? Did I really toy around with the idea that he hadn't vanished at all and was now watching over me from the shadows? Ridiculous. I entered the darkness and touched the cold wall, almost as if to try and find some remnants of his warmth. I slowly lowered my hand, but right before I pulled it back, I noticed a crack at the edge of the wall. My eyes had grown accustomed to the dark, allowing me to just barely make it out. No. That wasn't a crack, but some text. After making sure that there was no one outside, I looked at the text again. It was direct and seemed to have been etched by something sharp. Are these numbers? It was a row of numbers. They seemed familiar, but I didn't exactly know why. However, the fact that it was there could only mean that it was a message left for me specifically. I had to think. Considering it was left for me, it must have been something I knew. If I didn't understand what it was, I would never be able to face him. Think, dang it! I clenched my teeth and put my memory to work. A dark cell. That story he loved. The outside of this facility, which I knew nothing about. A library as vast as an ocean. All those labels etched onto the spines of books. It's the label of the book! Holy crap. The moment that thought flashed through my mind, I broke into a run. I hurried to the shelf that had the book with the number he'd left behind. This world had far too many books. You have to traverse a considerable distance just to get from A to B. It might have been faster if I'd asked a librarian, but I couldn't do that. There were other librarians, of course, but asking them was the same as asking her. And so, no matter how many ladders I had to climb, no matter how many stairs I had to descend, all this music! No matter how dizzy the sea of books made me feel, I'm on my own here. I need to find it by myself. I spent a good while searching for the spine with the number. Eventually, I found the right bookshelf. However, there were so many books with numbers that they simply couldn't all fit into my vision. Can I really figure out which one of these he was referring to? I looked over the spines with the numbers. Oh. And found the one particular book without any text on its cover, that in turn made it stand out. I locked my eyes on it and used the ladder to get to it. It wasn't big or anything, just a standard Takobon-sized book. However, it weighed far more than the others. After carefully going down, I stuck behind the shelf and opened the book. What did he leave for me? What? Inside, I found no text at all. It was a fake book without any story in it. I flipped through the blank pages and found a handgun. What? I picked up the shiny black weapon with trembling hands. It was heavy. I could feel its weight through my entire arm. This had to be his final ace up its sleeve. It was a weapon he'd stored away in the sake of the story he so loved. And he gave it to me. His weight made me certain he was gone for good. There was no one who could help me now. I was alone. I was different from my friends, and unlike any of the other spectators, there was no one I could trust now. Despite that, I have to fight. Even if I'm on my own, I have to defeat Mamiya. I strengthened my grip around the gun. See? I'd finally gathered my resolve. I knew now that saving something required sacrificing something else. If I wanted to protect something he held dear, I had to be ready to hurt others. It's time. I'll enter their story again. Whoa. Darn it. I cut the music. Let's leave it here for now. I have no idea what's about to happen. He's got a freaking gun. What does that mean? I don't even know. Whew. But yeah, we'll have to save what happens there next time. So, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This one was crazy. Holy crap. But the music, man. Oh, the music. I might need to figure out how to get my hands on the soundtrack for this, because holy cow, that was awesome. The music for this has always been really good, but some of those scores were amazingly amazing. Woo! Oh, that's exciting. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Thank you so much. Again, remember that Democracy Week is next week, so look out for that. Thank you so much to the patrons who helped select this title and who also get to have a hand not only in selecting the things that are going to be voted on for Democracy Week, but also help me just pick every single Friday series we have. We specifically choose smaller, lesser known publications in order to give them a highlight and a space and to find gems like Mamiya, which has really been an amazing ride. Seabed's another good one. But thank you to the patrons. You guys believing in me means the world to me, and like I hope I can continue to earn and be worthy of your support. It's been an incredible experience. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you to anyone who's watching even. Like, you guys are doing so much to help the channel, but by being here, by sharing these stories with me, I hope you've had a great time as well. But until next video, watch me up. See me in next. I'll see you there.